All right, welcome back to episode 4 of the Sweet Shots podcast. I'm Lucas Johnson, back alongside Mark Johnson and Chuck Johnson, back from the vacation after a mysterious coincidental vacation out to the Southern Carolina and
Myrtle
possibly
Beach.
the CJ Cup. That's up for debate. We're not sure
I
yet.
might have been there scouting.
We were joking with Pat last week that we thought there might be something up in the works with the CJ Cup and the CJ from Sweet Shots.
Yep. Perhaps. You guys will never know.
Well, the results of the competition might indicate that there is little collusion.
That is very true as well.
Going on,
There was boots on the ground over there. And we'll get into that a little later when we touch on that. But
Sure.
pre-show here, when we're talking about it, there's some red flags going on. I'm not sure we're going to be, we'll keep a close eye on Chuck. So back in St. Andrews, should have a good show today. Coming out a little later. We're doing this a little later than normal, recording it a little later than normal. So we'll take an interesting turn on the DraftKings portion of it. But first, get into it, a little local news. North Dakota State University men's golf team out in the Northern Carolina, out in the Outer Banks, Old Dominions tournament out there at Kilmarlock Golf Club. Those boys, they walked away with the win out there. Ran away with it, wire to wire.
And this isn't the first time they've won that tournament.
No,
this
is. I don't know that it's back to back, but I know that the old team picture is still up in the clubhouse from 2019.
And you won it when you were playing.
That was the last year.
That was 19
or 20.
20 was COVID. 19.
19. Yep. 19.
Probably
2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they even got it last year either.
You guys went deep the year you won it. Really deep. And it's not an easy golf course. That's it
is. There's a little weather that can roll in. I know our first day, similar to this first day, the weather was terrible out there, by the way. I guess you escaped it, Chuck. It looked pretty nice with where you were at.
Are they on the coast? Are
Yep.
they right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Outer Banks. Kitty Hawk, kind of in that area.
Okay.
Were they the origins of flight? Human flight took place?
I've heard of it.
Like livable human flight. I think guys flew before the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
But the Wright
They
brothers
won't
went
land.
up and came down and lived.
Those
to
guys
tell about
couldn't
it.
talk about it.
Right.
Couldn't report their findings.
Hit something hard. Don't want to walk away from it.
That was the case. Up to those guys.
Got it.
Anyway, it's a great golf course. Really loved it. That was the site of one of my most exciting 9 holes. Mark, you were there following along. I don't know if you remember that at all. But that was the infamous par-free back 9.
Ooh.
Which is hard to do in competition.
I do
Par
that
free.
all the time. I just did in a league play the other night. Double, bogey, double.
I had a few of those mixed in. I also finished birdie, and
Nice.
I think I went like bogey, double, birdie, bogey. There's a couple more birdies and bogeys in there, and then birdie, finish.
It was an emotional roller coaster for those watching.
Mm-hmm.
But fun to watch. But back to NDSU. I mean, that's just it's not an easy golf course. They're playing good competition, and they played great. I mean,
they did. It was 3 days of dominant golf. They had like a 12-shot lead either after the first or second day.
Wow.
And that was the first day. It was a downpour rain. It was a storm they were playing in, and to walk out of there, the team was under par. They were the only team under par, and they had a 12-shot lead.
Who medaled?
Nate Adams from
Nice.
NDSU. So he had a great tournament as well. I mean, the kid can flat out play. He's a Pine to Palm champion. Plays in the Resorters every year as well. I know he's made it deep there a couple times. He's semifinalist or a finalist in the Birchmont. I don't know if he's won it. I can't remember.
well, you look at their lineup, and every one of these guys
Let's hear. What do you got?
could play number 1 for the team. I mean, they're interchangeable.
They all have the talent.
Yeah, and that's credit Steve Kennedy. He's doing a great job. He's trying to get best players locally, but he's also pulling guys out of the Twin Cities that maybe had a look from a bigger school, maybe Big Ten school, and for whatever reason didn't hook on with them. But these guys can play. So you had Ian Simonich. Simi's local product, Moorhead.
Yep.
He shot 3 under yesterday. That was actually the low round on the team.
Wow, great playing.
Gavin Cronkite's been playing some great golf this fall as well. He was 1 under yesterday.
He has. He really found it.
Yep.
He's a great player.
And Nate was so dominant early on the first couple of rounds that he just threw an even par at him yesterday. 1 birdie, 1 bogey. It was good enough to win by how many?
3 shots. Yeah, he went out 5 under, 5 under, and 1 at 10. So yeah.
And Brock Winter, a couple under yesterday. Here's a guy that tied for first at Minnesota Golf Champions, the best of the best in the section. And Brock is, he's capable of playing great. I think the year you guys won out there, he shot 66 the last round.
Yeah.
His freshman
66
year.
or 65 or something like
Something
that.
low. And then Nate Diesel. Nate's been there forever.
He's a Summit League champion.
Summit League champion.
Individual champion.
Mm.
That guy, he can flat out play too. All of those guys, it's just whatever day at a drop of a hat, they can all go out and shoot 65. And that's what we kind of touched on our last show, that the talent is all there. The pieces are in place, and it's just, you got to peak at the right time and take it deep. And those guys can definitely do it. There's not a doubt in my mind.
There were seven players under par for the tournament. Only 7.
Okay.
And Nate was 10 under par, winning at 10 under par. He won by 3. A gentleman from Drexel was 7 under. Another Max Hutter from Georgetown was 5 under. So, he almost doubled up number under par versus he did, the third and fourth place competitor. And like I said, Gavin Cronkite, the other NDSU player under par for the tournament, he finished 7th. Mm-hmm. So that's solid, fantastic playing by the Bison. Brock Winter, 14th. Nate Diesel was T16. And I think we had one other.
Ian?
You know what? I want to mention, wherever Ian finished here.
Okay.
I missed him.
There. They were all.
When you're going to win a tournament, you're all going to be pretty solid.
Yeah.
I do want a little shout out to North Dakota, University of North Dakota, had their best showing at this tournament. I know they've gone a few years,
couple of years now,
and there's some local guys playing for UND. They finished 12th. In one round, that second round, I think they were even par. One of the better rounds actually of the tournament or that day of the teams, and they finished 12th out of 16 teams. But at plus 36, they were 7 strokes out of 7th place. That's significant.
That is. They're on the right track too. We might have touched on it before, but Coach Schaefer up there is building a nice program from having it cut. What is that now? 4 or 5 years ago to bringing it back, and it's a upward trajectory they're on. That's really good. He's building a nice program up there.
Yeah. Grayson Wetch had a nice round yesterday. Grayson's a local product here in Fargo. Went to Oak Grove. He was 2 under par yesterday with a double on 17, that par 3. And the other guys, they're playing better. So hats off to them. They were 2 strokes back Omaha and Villanova. So they're in the mix.
They're right there.
Yeah.
And this I believe it's the same for North Dakota, University of North Dakota. This was the last tournament of the fall season.
That's what I was going to ask.
Guys,
what do they got left?
That was it? They're going into break now.
Yep.
So being a NDSU product, I know the guys are going to start getting in the weight room.
Yep.
Hitting the weights pretty hard.
Prep for next spring.
Got it. And that's kind of the mentality. There'll be a little break here over their winter break. But a lot of those guys, they go south, and with facilities like this now, you can keep the game sharp. So
great.
It's a lot of prep going into spring season where that's when the conference tournament is. So you got to peak at the end of spring here coming up.
It's too bad that you have to, and all programs do that. They break up the season, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's tricky to get the motor going again in the spring, but like you said, there's opportunities to keep things tuned up.
And it is, the practice schedule allows you to kind of get amped for it. Around here, when you have to start practice inside and that you're traveling to the first one, which might be in South Carolina or wherever there is 0 snow, that gives you motivation to just be ready, because that's your chance. That's your chance to go play some more golf again. So, and not to leave out the women of NDSU. They're down in Hawaii. This is their first time back in, I want to say, like 5 or 6 years. They got invited back down to the tournament in Hawaii. Looked like they were playing pretty solid, kind of steady pack. I know Leah. What do I want to say? Scar. Is that her last name? Leah Scar. No,
Again, he's the
You're
young
the
one.
bison.
I'm the
you're,
one. Yeah,
you're the
I
young
know,
one
I
and
know,
a
I know,
bison,
I know.
so they're in your fold. I can speak of we had the most decorated bison golfer in the history of bison golf, men or women, in the building this week with our high school girls event that we put on. Amy Olson was here.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
What a quality person she is.
It was Leah Scar, by the way. I don't know why her last name escaped me. I
It
had
happens.
2 years with her, but it was fine.
Amy gave of her time to come over and speak to a group of young ladies that are golfers, North Dakota high school golfers, and we had probably a little over around 50 girls
Yeah.
out for a little fun event. And Amy talked everything putting practice techniques to how to deal with disappointment on the golf course. I thought she just knocks it out of the park whenever she speaks. She can really connect with the girls, and
It was really cool to see. I mean, she gave some great insights. I mean, just because it is tough around here to be an athlete in golf when we don't have that long of a season, and then to see someone succeed like she has, and for her to share that story, that in itself is motivation.
interesting enough, she said she put them away. She put the clubs away in the winter for a period of time, so she was hungry, right? When it came time towards spring, you start thinking, "Wow, I haven't played for a while. I want to get after it."
Yeah.
Sometimes if you grind, everybody's different, I'm sure. But she, interesting enough, put them away for a period of time and would get after it. And she made it as, basically almost won a U.S. Women's Open. So she's won at the national level, U.S. Girls Junior. So she obviously made it work for her. So.
Yeah, I think she has the NCAA record for most regular season tournament wins.
I believe that's correct.
Bison.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Impressive. Yeah, I had a chance to listen in. She did a really nice job with those young girls. You could see they were super excited to have her in the building and engaged with them. So,
yeah, that was a fun time too. But moving on into getting into last week's tournament, the CJ Cup. Jury's still out on whether it's a Chuck Johnson Cup.
it is.
After we go into this, I think it might solve. So off the bat, we're talking DraftKings last week, no cut event. Personally, I had taken the statistical route, trying to fill the void that Chuck left when he was gone.
So you took the stats roll.
You
put on the Gomer visor.
I was
pencil
ready,
pushing,
I was ready to go.
number crunching guy
Yep.
that Chuck is, and you did
ready
it.
to go.
And I went with Who's Hot.
Yep.
I'm playing the Who's Hot card. That's my deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say it. Not proud of my team. They did not show up on Sunday. 448.50 was my total.
448.50. That is a distant third behind me. I was 480.50.
Mm-hmm.
I was riding John Rahm, that bandwagon.
Mm.
Of course, Tom Hoagie just continues to produce. I took a flyer on Ricky Fowler. I kind of like what I saw in his game the week before, shooting 60 nothing, and he played solid. His opener around 74, and he had a 73. Other than that, 66, 67. That's pretty good.
It's in there. I'm telling you, his switch to the cavity backs, away from the butter knives, and back with his old swing coach. That's a good formula for him. I'm excited for that year.
Yeah. Well, this was, I think, the first week that I actually was not in last. I think you beat me the first 2 weeks.
Yep.
Both of you guys did.
Yep.
So, anywho, my total is 534.
That's solid. That's going to win you money in most formats.
Yep. I was fortunate to come ahead in the money. I went with the winner. I had McElroy on my squad.
And we had touched on that last week. And maybe if you were here, you could have defended that point. But go through your process in that, because he was $1,100, which normally you don't see a lot of that. So is there something where it's like, everyone's going to take him, so you might as well have him on your team, or what's kind of the thought there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I went with just course history, and he had won it there previous or last year. So I'm going, he likes the course. He's playing well. And I went with, I felt like you had to have him on the squad to compete. And then when you look at some of the other guys, I also had Fowler. I thought the price points, even though he was the most, McElroy was the most expensive, you could still get some pretty solid guys. down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So I had Fowler, Adam Hadwin, who had been playing well coming in. I went Hoagie. I've learned to have him on my team. And then Tommy Fleetwood. And I think he had one round.
You turned it on again. That was my next question, was if we had Tommy Fleetwood because of your U.S. Open horror story. British Open. Sorry.
Yeah.
British Open.
After snake bite that I had that time, I should just learn to always have Tommy in my lineup. But
and we mentioned that the first episode, I think. So
I believe we did.
If you missed
that guy can
Chuck,
get hot.
Yeah.
Tommy can go out and shoot a 61, 62. It's
Like
He
now.
single-handedly took a couple $100,000 out of your hands
yes, he did.
in fantasy.
Yes, I'd like to say I'm over it.
But
I'm not
here
over
we
it.
are.
Never run into Tommy Fleetwood.
So how do you pick between a guy like, so I went with Rahm, he won the Spanish Open the week before, lapped the field, lapped him. He did open up pretty solid, 60, 69, 62, not a bad couple of days. How do you make a decision between, is it gut feeling with those guys?
Yeah, at that level, a little bit of gut feeling. I mean, if you've got some course history though, then I always lean on who's played well there. And we know Rory had. So that was really what tipped my hand. But Rahm, I mean, at that level, when you get those guys that are above 10K, that's where it's kind of fun, where make maybe multiple lineups.
Right. I was going to ask you, would you do that then?
Yeah.
Maybe come back if it's a 3 lineup limit.
Yep.
Maybe you
throw
just
a Rahm in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then if there's another 10K at, if JT or somebody's up there, Justin Thomas, throw him in there. So then you kind of cover your bases, banking on one of those top guys.
On the top guys taking it, which statistically it looked like a lot of those guys could have performed there anyway.
Yep.
I think obviously hindsight's 2020, and in a no-cut event, really spending the higher tier money shouldn't have scared me as much as it did.
Sure.
Because you're, like we were saying, we can find the value picks again in a no-cut event with the more expensive field.
Exactly. Not having to run that risk of a guy not making that cut.
Right.
Just go with guys that I think I had Jordan Spieth was my last guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it just fit in my money model. I'm like, well, Jordan can get hot. And he played solid.
He was consistently, nothing too crazy on it. So
anyway.
I mean, that again raises the question what the ties are between Chuck Johnson, CJ, and the CJ Cup. Also being in South Carolina, at the same time. He obviously likes the setup over there. We've got $1.25 in our pocket off the quarter.
Yep.
With the winning lineup in the Sweet Shots podcast. So a lot of good things coming from him out of South Carolina. So
feeling good going into Bermuda Championship, LJ.
Yeah, the vibes are high going into
I think we've each won a week.
Yep, we're 1-1
Is
and
that
1.
for fact?
1-1 and 1.
All right.
1-1.
This is where it all starts.
There you go. I was going to touch on Tom Hoagie's year so far, and I think this might have been his worst finish of the year right now. T13. He might have had one worse than that. But this week the purse was $10.5 million. So that means he finished T13 at 9 under par. That netted him $189,756 in just one tournament.
I think he's over $1 million. Did you already mention that?
I didn't mention that. I didn't know his totals, but
this year I think he's already over $1 million.
And it's 3 tournaments in.
4, I think. That's impressive. Good for him. Yeah, he's playing well.
So another product where coming out of Fargo, growing up here, you can be A-okay. You can develop and play really well. So
in that field too, though, T13, LJ. I mean, there's
some great names,
really good players in that field. So good for him.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to touch on, we made fun of him, I think, on our first round, Jason Day.
Yeah.
We poked fun at his back, but he's creeping up the leaderboards now. All of a sudden, he posted a couple good scores. I've got on here. He's possibly maybe back. I mean, is it someone to consider moving forward?
I think it's worth at least keeping an eye on. But there's some narrative there, LJ, around getting on a guy before he becomes hot, where everybody's playing him.
Everyone's got him in the lineup.
Yeah. So it's kind of a flyer pick where I like that. Next time he's in a field, I know he's not in this next one, but take a chance. Throw a Jason in there before he's all of a sudden top 10, and then everybody's going to go, oh,
you got to have him on your squad.
Yep. I saw that too. Yeah, he had a better performance. So
I hope so.
hopefully
I mean,
past the back issue.
he's a great guy. I mean, he's fun to watch.
Yep.
So yeah, hopefully he's past that back issue again. Possibly, maybe back on Jason Day. We'll see.
We'll keep an eye
on it going forward. But transitioning into this week, Jason Day is not in the field, as is just about any strong notable player on the PGA Tour. This is one of the weakest fields of the year. Playing in Bermuda. We're doing the Bermuda Championship, traveling south. Interesting golf course here. Not the longest, 6,800 yards. I've seen par 70, par 71. I think they flip a 5 and 4 sometimes, depending on the setup. But the course is no pushover because a couple factors I had between the par 3s. I think all of them play over 200 yards.
Long. Yep.
And the weather is a huge factor.
Wind.
And I've seen in the forecast we're
rain.
looking at some storms.
Sure. Okay.
Some rain and storms blowing in. So that's something to take a look at. Now, I mean, pivoting here, obviously we're getting the episode out a little late. So folks might not be able to get their lineups in on time. Let's see for the full week.
Yep.
But with DraftKings, talk a little bit about the options we have going forward if we miss the full lineup, the full week lineup.
Yeah, good point. So as this goes to the air, if we don't get it out there in time before that Thursday morning lock when the tournament starts, you still have an opportunity to participate in DraftKings events. They do daily, which is one day only. So you could do just Thursday, or hey, I'm going to just throw one in for the Friday round or the Saturday round. I haven't confirmed if they're doing it this particular event, but they also do a weekend. So you can do just Saturday, weekend. Sunday as well. With this event and the field that they have, they might not be offering that, but those are always options. And I've done some of that where 2 full day, maybe I've overlooked or didn't get a lineup in time, or Thursday, my team just was terrible right out of the gate. So throw a new lineup in on a Friday for just the 1 day.
Just recoup some of that.
Yep, in hopes. Yep. And it's same deal. You can find 10 cent, quarter, up to $1, $5, $10, whatever you want to spend. They usually have those denomination events, and then multi event. You can do those that up to 50 entries, or you can do single events where you can have just single entry as well. So there's options. And I would encourage people maybe try that. Take a flyer on a team for a Saturday. It's kind of fun. It kind of adds to it where you just got that 1 day.
Sure. And now does strategy change at all, right? Because we are looking at this is a cut event. I mean, after 2 days, there is a cut.
The strategy there, LJ, is tee times. So say maybe you're going to do a Friday team. Take a look at what those tee times are. And Mark, maybe this is more your guys' world. You guys are the PGA pros, but if the wind's going to kick up maybe in the afternoon at Bermuda, maybe you want those earlier tee times and just load up on guys that are playing early.
Right. And I played that strategy when I play Torrey Pines. DraftKings at Torrey Pines. The wind always blows in the afternoon. The morning tee times definitely have the advantage. Just the way
and
it
the
goes.
grass grow. I mean, the POA comes out in the greens at Torrey Pines, and it becomes just difficult. The course changes.
Yeah, it does. It just bumpy greens in the afternoon. So that's definitely a strategy to look at. Bermuda, I don't know if they have winds that always come up in the afternoon, but you look at the forecast.
Yeah.
In general, unless something crazy is going on with the weather.
Yeah.
Morning tee times.
Yep.
I think if you look statistically at the tour, the numbers are lower in the morning.
They are. And how about that weather event too? That's another thing, LJ.
Yeah,
if you know weather's coming in Friday.
I think Friday was the weather.
So is there some narrative around, and I've heard this, again, you guys are the pros, weather comes in later, maybe it's a rain event that softens up the course, softens up the greens.
Yep.
Maybe that is an advantage for some.
And at this golf course being a shorter golf course, already benefiting the long hitter.
Yeah.
Plus you get some of the par fours turn into drivable with the right wind.
Sure.
And as soon as you start making that course softer, right, guys can become more aggressive, especially off the tee, because they know their ball's not either going to run off into the water or into the hazard. So, something to watch out for there, especially with, if we're looking at dailies, Saturday after a rain, looking at long hitters, because the shorter guys, they're not going to get the rollout that normally would get them the extra distance. So you need the guys that advantage. Just bomb it down there.
Yep.
So they still have a wedge in their hand. So absolutely, I mean, weather's a huge factor in this tournament, and especially if we're doing dailies, which is another fun little side hustle there. So we kind of touched on it, but as far as players that are going to benefit on this is accuracy off the tee. I mean, it's kind of it's Bermuda, obviously Bermuda grass, so you get the heavy bunkered course, Bermuda grass greens. You're going to need some sharp irons coming into the greens, and I don't know what you have on there,
That's
Chuck,
exactly right.
Yeah,
you hit on it. Those are the three. Yep, accuracy off tee, and I'm going off that course history, taking a look at some of the articles out there, and that's the number one data point to be looking at is accuracy off tee. And then wind players. So you guys, if you can identify good wind players, is it those maybe that are from like a Texas?
That's exactly where I'm going. Texas and European guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the links, the guys that like link style golf perform well over there.
Seamus, perhaps.
He's on my list actually too. Jeez. So he's the only player ranked in the top world golf rankings in the field. He's the only one ranked.
Is that a fact?
That's a fact.
Really?
Ranked in the what?
OWGR, official world golf rankings.
How many
top
spots?
Well, there's
these guys are ranked.
It's top. The
top 50.
Info, it must be
top
like
25?
I don't know what his ranking is, top 100 or whatever.
Hmm.
So he's the top player,
ranked player. Okay,
top ranked player, Seamus Power.
Okay,
yeah, okay, that makes smart sense.
I like that. He was on my players to watch. I didn't get him on my team, so you guys can settle down.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't. Could be a mistake, but I'm going. My method changed a little bit from last week.
Okay,
veering off the statistical approach. Other guys I got to watch. Luke Donald makes a reappearance. Statistically in the top 5 of strokes gained approach for the tournament. So saw an interview with him today. It's kind of good to see him reappear every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
Akshay Bhatia, he was one of the greats on the Corn Ferry Tour last year. Really made his mark. He made a splash. I think he made a run at one of the regular season tournaments last year. Great guy. I think had his girlfriend caddying for him at the time, and he's really laid back, fun guy to watch. But a great ball striker as well. And Mark Hubbard, I got him on there. I know I mentioned him early. It might have been like the second tournament, another key player to watch, but I'm high on Mark Hubbard. Just a all around good dude. And a couple of my points were he scores a lot of fantasy points, and he makes a lot of cuts, and some of those cuts turn into top 10s. So not to get into my lineup, but that's a little preview into some of the players to watch. Again, one of the weakest fields of the year. So not saying slim pickings here, but probably some unfamiliar faces for people when they're looking at lineups for this event.
That's right. Yeah, some of these guys you're looking and going, ooh, like probably Corn Ferry experience, maybe.
A lot of Corn Ferry experience.
So are we going through lineups?
Let's go through it. Yeah, winners first.
So my strategy on this, guys, is I'm going strong course history. Guys that have seem to play here each year and have pretty good track record. So I am going to go with Mr. Power. I like that guy. Russell Knox.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't make my lineup very often because he's a pretty short hitter. Matter of fact, I might even be able to outbomb him.
Oh, boy.
But I know that's saying something. But he plays well there because he hits it nice and straight. And then I've got Rogers, Mr. Patrick Rogers.
Kenny.
So he's Kenny's son, nephew or something. And then Stewart. Okay, Stuard. Stewart.
I've seen him.
Plays well at 7K. That leaves me with 69 per player. Slim pickings.
So we got 3 left. Is that right? Do we hit?
Nope. I hit 4. Rogers,
so
Knox, Stewart, and Power.
2 left for 69.
And I went back to back these guys. And he might have the most famous or infamous putting reading style in the history of the PGA.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, the guy that gets down on his
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Villegas. How do you pronounce
Camilo
that?
Villegas.
Is that how you do it?
And that's how I say it.
Yeah.
So he's a veteran when you look at these guys that are, a lot of them are Corn Ferry. So I'm going 2 wily veterans to round off my field. And then Aaron Baddeley.
Yep.
Now, Baddeley, if you look at his last 3 events, top 30s, 2 of them were in Corn Ferry. But he was out on his last PGA event was the Fortinet that just took place a couple weeks ago. He was 36th in a solid field. I think this field is a lot less talent-wise than that tournament, so I'm banking on.
So good value pick for the experience he's got in there.
I'm hoping so, LJ. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, that's it. Mark, what do you got?
Well, I did a mix of course experience and then wind players. I think it's going to be blowing out there.
Mm-hmm.
In no particular order. Here's a veteran play, a guy that doesn't hit it, similar to your Knox pick, Brian Gay.
Oh yes,
the guy is a cut machine.
He does. He's a workhorse. We mention workhorses, I think, every episode.
So you know he's coming off an injury.
No.
Yeah.
Well, he's made 14 of 14 cuts, but that was prior to the injury. What's the injury?
Well, let me pull it up again because I also looked him up, and then when I clicked on him, I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, it's first event."
There's lost his left arm. What was the? Because if he's
you keep going, I'll look it up.
Okay. Then I went with a veteran move that also saved me a boatload of cash because he's at $6,000.
That's like you scroll all the way down to the bottom for $6,000.
Played in the wind in college at TCU. None other than Jay Henry.
Oh my!
Who? He played there, and there's no news for him. That's not a good sign.
No news is
he's got 0 top 10s, 0 cuts made.
Some say
0.
no news is good news though. So I, optimistically.
Yeah. JJ Henry.
Okay. JJ.
He's a little older than Andy Doden. Played at TCU. JJ is a great wind player. He just is.
Okay. I like it. Can we go back to Mr. Brian Gay?
Brian Gay.
According to the DraftKings, Gay is back after being sidelined since a withdrawal at the Wyndham Championship due to a wrist injury.
Mm-hmm. I might have to reconsider that. Seamus Power, we talked about. The guy grew up playing in the wind. Excellent wind player. Somebody that's not on many radars anymore. He floats in, floats out. When he plays well, he's great. Eric Van Rooyen.
I was hoping to get out of here without matching any of you guys, but he's
University of Minnesota guy. Came up, played North Dakota Open a number of times.
He's South African.
South African.
Yeah,
yeah, South African.
Mm-hmm.
Funny mustache, short pants.
Funny mustache, short pants.
Yep.
It's a great reason to draft a guy. I like that.
Yep. And his caddy single-handedly dismantled my best malt partner, Greg McCullough, and I once in a Minnesota 4-ball.
His current caddy?
His current caddy.
Wow.
Yeah. Played with him at the University of Minnesota. So I like Van Rooyen just from, I think he has the capabilities of being in this field.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's a very good ball striker. I have a rookie. Then I have got a couple rookies. I've got S. Kim, and his name is Seong Young Kim. And I'm saying that, I'm trying to pronounce it. I practiced it and everything. Seong Young.
I could tell.
I got him on my team too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. His fantasy points per game are super high. He's played well, tied for 36, tied for 13th. He's got a lot of game, and he's a good value. And then somebody called G Sig. I think he's a rookie too.
SIG?
Yep, G.
Okay.
And again, I went with the fantasy points. So there's a strategy. I went with a couple guys that are good win players, a couple veterans, and then I looked at rookies with this fantasy points per game. Very high. They're making a lot of birdies. So we'll see. On a field like this, I'm a little out of my element because I love tracking guys that play well.
Yeah.
And I play the hot hand coming into the week, but a lot of those guys aren't playing.
They're taking the break.
You're right.
So this might be a week where I put in my team and take a flyer, and then I'm playing some dailies. I'm gonna look at tee times and I'm gonna play dailies.
There you go.
And that's the teams we're picking here. We're getting this in before the deadline. So these are week-long teams. These are not a daily
Correct.
team.
Yep.
For those listening, this is a week-long team. So I'm a little biased because I got two of those guys on my team, Mark Hubbard and Seung Hyun Kim.
I think you missed one of the Youngs.
Hey, there's multiple Youngs. Young Kim.
Yeah, it's
Kim. S. Kim.
S. Kim.
Yeah, great. He's a great ball striker. I've got top 5 in strokes gained total going into this tournament. So the guy's got
Nice research, guys.
He's on it. I also went on the cut maker, and then Eric Van Rooyen, top 5 in strokes gained approach as well. So I'm in it. I like those 2 picks. My top end, I went Mark Hubbard at 10,000. I kind of talked about him before, but the combination of the high fantasy points and the cuts made with the top 10s, I liked him on the end. I'm also, instead of going statistical approach, I'm hammering the cuts made, especially on the low end. So I went CT Pan, 7,300, cuts made. He hasn't played a ton, but he's 4 for 4 with 1 top 10.
I like it.
Okay, and then a decent fantasy points, 70 points per game. So decent there. 7,300, not bad on that. And then I went Joseph Bromlett, who again fits the mold of cuts made. He's at, let's see, where is he at? He's at 7,500, 81 points per game. 5 of 6 in the cut with 1 top 10. So Joseph Bromlett, I like that. Fits my mold, cuts made. And then I got another hard one to pronounce here. So it's Zechang Du.
D-O-O?
D-O-U. Dow.
Yep. Oh, Dow. Okay.
7,600 points per game in the cuts made. He's 19 to 25 with 6 top 10s.
Corn Ferry?
Corn Ferry.
Okay. Yeah.
I believe.
All right. So you certainly went in with a strategy there, LJ, in that it was cuts made.
Yep.
Right. And then also looking at those fantasy points per.
Right. Yep.
Solid.
That was yep.
And Mark, you're looking more some wind players, guys that you think that are strong wind, and then fantasy points. I also heard you say, right?
Correct. And there's some strokes gained back data that backs up some of these guys.
Yep.
You know what intrigued me about Brian Gay is in the last 3 years there.
Oh,
good wrist, assuming
yeah.
T12 a win in T3.
I like that.
He plays really well there.
Yes.
If he's in the field, I would hope he's capable of playing if he's got himself registered.
Pulling a
Kuchar
on you.
Kuchar doesn't even tee it up.
But I'm willing
slot machines.
I'm willing to take that risk with
I like
Brian
that.
Gay.
Yep.
With his history.
Probably
there.
gonna be low owned because people like me are seeing that wrist injury deal. We're not putting him on.
Right.
He
But
plays
that
well. You got a leg up.
What was when was that injury? Because that was a while.
The Wyndham.
That was a while ago, wasn't
Whenever that was. The Wyndham.
it? So hopefully he's back and able to play a little bit.
He missed the okay. No, yeah, it doesn't say when. Sorry, Wyndham.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So this will be interesting.
It'll
Another
be-
different field, another different type of tournament.
This will really test our DraftKings ability here.
well, and this is a tricky one, like with the field and little weaker groups. So I like your guys' pointer, Mark. I think you said it is probably throw more dailies in, right? Just throw 1 or 2 of these 4-day lineups, but then play a Saturday deal once you see who's made the cut.
Yeah,
looking maybe at tee times and weather.
Tee times and weather. That's kind of the big takeaway on today. Tee times and weather. Yeah, it's going to be a fun follow along. We're getting it out a little late. Should be out by the end of Wednesday. We're recording this Wednesday afternoon, so follow along. Try and get a team in there for the week. If not, get some dailies in there. Stay tuned. Fun fact: we are now on Spotify. So if you're listening on YouTube, hop over to Spotify under Sweet Shots Podcast. That's where you're going to find it. We've got all, this will be our 4th episode on there, I think, 4th or 5th. We'll throw those on there. Hop over there. I don't know. I'm an Apple Music guy, so I don't use Spotify. I don't know if you subscribe to that or.
I don't know. I'm not on that.
I'm
platform.
gonna know.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Getting
As soon as
Spotify.
this is over, I'm going over there and
right away. Well, before we, I need to say thanks to Pat for sitting in the seat last week and filling in for me while I was at the CJ.
It was at the end of that episode. It was like, I don't know if Chuck's going to make the cut here.
That's kind of what I was thinking. It was risky to say, yeah, Pat, why don't you sit in for me? Because the guy's pretty witty.
He did. He tried to pick a team for you. I don't know if you caught that. The funny name team.
Okay. No, I missed it.
You have a lot of money left over from last week on the budget that
Oh.
he gave you.
Okay. All right.
We had, what was the highlight of that? Fuzzy Zeller was on there.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
He's a gamer.
Lee Trevino. You name it.
Lee
Okay.
wasn't on there. Anyway.
We'll have Pat back on as a guest.
Yep. He'll be back.
Cool.
He'll be back.
we have more to talk about with Pat. We didn't get to some of
We
this
didn't
stuff.
get to a lot of that.
His true talents.
We're going to start getting a rotating guest list going. So Pat will be back. Looking forward to that. Again, get on Spotify, subscribe, or whatever the deal is, and tune in next week. See the results of these highly anticipated DraftKings lineups. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.